Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of our Planet Philly Shorts, our Planet Philly stream. So excited again to be back with you guys. I was the last one who got to talk to you back on Saturday morning. Oh man, I thought it was gonna be a good game. I got the Eagles score right, 38-21. That was the goal that I picked. That was the final score that I chose heading into that Giant game. I picked the Giants score 21 points. That was being too nice, clearly being too nice to the New York Giants. They got out, blown out of the water, 38-7 on the anniversary of the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC Championship game 38-7 5 years ago to the day this past Saturday. Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Earnshaw. Great to be with you once again here on the Planet Philly stream. We have a lot to get to this week. We have a great lineup throughout the entire week. I'm joining you right now, 6:30 until around we get closer to 7 o'clock. We also, at 6:35, just a couple of moments away, we will be joined by a special guest when he gets in here. I'm so excited to have him on. I'm not going to name who it is yet. A little surprise. It'll be a lot of fun. Can't wait to talk to our special guest tonight. We're going to talk this Eagles-Giants game. Now, disclosure, he grew up a Giants fan. We're going to talk to the other side a little bit, get their thoughts on what they're thinking in New York. So definitely want to have a good discussion there regarding just kind of wrapping up the Eagles and the New York Giants game in the division round from this past Saturday. Now, as we head further down the week, I want to get into what's coming up. Jason Joseph, he's going to be live tomorrow around lunchtime, 1 p.m. will be the time that Jason goes live. Got to double check the schedule right here. He'll be live Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Then I'll be back live again Thursday night, 6:30, same time, right this spot. Don't go anywhere. 6:30, this is the spot you want to be. We're going to be talking more Eagles, getting closer to game time, 3 p.m. on Sunday against those San Francisco 49ers. Now, a lot of people in the Philadelphia area, they wanted it to be the Dallas Cowboys. I was one of those people. And then a lot of people didn't want it to be the Dallas Cowboys and see them suffer and lose, which is fine. I like seeing the Dallas Cowboys suffer and lose. But, man, it would have been nice to face the Cowboys. But, hey, the Eagles are going to get the San Francisco 49ers. We all kind of thought that was what was going to happen. I picked the 49ers to win, wanted to see the Cowboys in the championship game. Unfortunately, did not happen this time around. Back to our schedule this week. I got you today and Thursday. Jason has you Wednesday. Friday night, we're going to be dropping the new episode of the podcast. Jen, Jason, and I will be all together again. Saturday morning, Jen's got you with a stream. She's going to give you her best bets of the weekend. But, man, we have to get into this Eagles and Giants game. I mean, another year. 5 years ago, the Philadelphia Eagles, they got to the NFC Championship game, got to a Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl 5 years ago. Can the same thing happen? Little different roster now. You got Sirianni as the head coach. Jalen Hurts is a starting quarterback. You still have some of those vets like Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox as the leaders kind of this team now to say, hey, we've been here before. Let's see what we can do again. A lot of new young players, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders. We're not on that 2017 team. So this is going to be a little bit new territory for those guys, as well as this coaching staff, young coaching staff too. So very, very exciting times if you're a Philadelphia fan. We just had the Phillies go on a run. And now we get the Philadelphia Eagles going on a little bit of a run as well. So a lot of exciting stuff going on in Philadelphia. The Flyers have played pretty well as of late too. So you're not going to count them out. I will count them out. Some people won't. But I'm going to count them out, even though they're playing pretty good hockey right now. 76ers, second in the East. Who would have thought this team would get to second in the East early on in the season? Nobody thought this team could get past the second round. I don't know if I'm there yet either, but they're playing good basketball, and they play tomorrow night against the Brooklyn Nets. First time we could see James Harden and Embiid against Ben Simmons. You want to see that Embiid-Simmons matchup. That's going to be a lot of fun. But I did say we had a special guest joining the stream today. Oh, I'm so excited because we've been texting all week. We talked before the game on Saturday, grew up a Giants fan, so I had to talk to him for a little bit on Saturday before the game. He is broadcaster at Penn Athletics. He does the sideline reporting as well. He'll do play-by-play too. He also is in Walla Walla over the summer. Walla Walla Sweets, a semi-pro baseball team. He was a play-by-play guy for them. I'm joined by Mr. Gary Erdely. Gary, it was a tough weekend for your Giants, man. I mean, 38-7. It was a shellacking of the New York Giants. And you still somehow think they could have and should have won the game.
No, okay. We say this, right? Firstly, happy to be the first New York representation.
I think so. I think you're the first New York. Yeah, I think so. First New York representation. So that's a pretty big deal on Planet Philly. You're stepping into opponent territory.
Well, also let's be fair. The city of Philadelphia has been nice to me.
Yeah, I think they have. I mean, you're big guy, big shot over at Penn now.
Yeah, we do stuff at Penn, St. Joe's, big five basketball guy. So the city of Philadelphia has been very nice to me. However, going on this Giants debacle in your first statement, I don't think the Giants should have won the game.
You think they could have, though?
I think it could have been a very different game. But there were game plan issues, and if you're going to be honest, there's two things. A, the Giants don't have the talent. I don't want to admit that. I would never willingly admit that in an argument, but I'm trying to be as clear as possible with you. This is the first time I'm admitting this to you.
I know it is. I'm actually sitting here. I'm sitting here stunned right now that you're actually admitting this.
The Giants, talent-wise, aren't on that level, and they've admitted that. The Dable and Sheen both said that the other day in the presser. So I fully whatever, right? Game plan issues is another thing. There was a lot of issues with how they went into this game, and that fourth down, like in the first half, that kind of killed any momentum the Giants had going the rest of the way. So, I mean, it could have been a very different game. It should have been a very different game. As a fan, as anyone who watched the game, you'd be pretty annoyed. It was on paper. The Giants were getting hot. They looked really good versus Minnesota. They looked good to end the year. They didn't, even with their backups in, they didn't look terrible against the Eagles week 18. Like, they looked like a coherent football team with backups in. So, paper, this was set to be a better game than it was, and I think even you, Jason, and Jen all kind of thought that was going to be the case. Nobody expected this to be as big of a blowout as it was, but it was because the Eagles had another week to game plan, and the Giants clearly were, I guess, riding a high from Minnesota, which is frustrating.
Yeah, I picked them to win, the Eagles to win 38-21. I gave the Giants a little more credit than I probably should have in this game. I thought Saquon Barkley would have had a bigger game.
You had a valid reason to give the Giants credit, right?
A little, yeah. I mean, they played well against Minnesota. That's the whole thing. They played really well on the road.
Really well on the road against Minnesota. And something that I kept saying, why I said the Giants were going to beat Minnesota, and they did, the same reason why I thought the Giants would at least have a good chance to beat the Eagles last week. And that was because this is your third time playing a team. This is your third time seeing Jalen Hurts this year. Your third time. If you can't figure it out 3 times, you score 7 points on your third try, that's a problem. And again, there's the 7 points is a different issue. That goes to game plan and talent, but a lot of people want to point fingers at the quarterback, and that's not the guy to talk to because he did all he could do.
Yeah, and this is kind of something we talked about. I think Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback for the Giants going forward. There's no doubt he played himself into that role this season. A lot of question marks, especially with the new head coach. Brian Dable clearly showed he's the guy for the job. You get Daniel Jones, played really well. Yes.
Big point here. I don't mean to, rub it in the face a little bit here. But
Go ahead. I mean, we're in the NFC Championship. The Eagles are in the NFC Championship game. That's
I
that.
love
There's not much you can rub in.
so I will admit a lot of things about the Eagles. They clearly are a very good football team. They have so much talent. They are one of the most talented rosters in football right now. Obviously, right? I don't think
I
that's a
think,
crazy statement.
yeah, I think maybe the most talented. I take
I
them over San Francisco just because of the quarterback.
I think that's fine. However, they don't have the best coach in football.
Oh, here we go. You're not a Sirianni guy. I
I
could
don't
see.
like Nick Sirianni,
I
but
can
I have a
listen.
point. I have a
Okay.
point,
All right.
Mister Shaw.
I'll let you go. I'll let you go.
I believe maybe fact check me on this because you didn't bring this up. NFC Coach of the Year.
Who am I going with?
No, it's Brian
Oh,
Dable.
oh, I would give Brian Dable I would give
I
him the coach of the year.
believe
I agree.
I believe
I'm
it was
with you.
announced.
I'm
I
with
could be
you.
wrong, but I
No,
believe it
it
was
has not been
announced.
announced yet. No, that'll be announced. I think, believe at the NFL awards coming up soon.
He
I
deserves
think
it.
he'll win. No,
He
I
deserves
do
it, but
believe
I
he'll
don't
win.
think Nick Sirianni is this god of coaching, right? Because if he was this god of coaching, the Eagles would have been a 10-win team last year, right?
Listen, they won 9 games last year. They were in the hole last year.
They
They were
would
in
have
the
been a
hole, and
lot
after
better last year.
they've improved so much this year, and you have to give credit to Nick Sirianni. I mean, he has done an unbelievable job with Jalen Hurts' development. He has helped him grow, and you can't say he hasn't. I mean,
I think
they
the
won
biggest
14 games
thing,
this year. They
I
won
think the
14 games. You
biggest,
can't take that away.
the biggest thing for Jalen Hurts' development is not Nick Sirianni. He has
I don't think it's the
very
biggest thing, but it's a factor.
very little to do with it. Obviously, he's the guy. He's the coach. Obviously, it has something to do with it. I don't think he is that big of a factor. Want to know what's the big factor? He's got a great offensive line, and he's got two of the best wide receivers in football right now. That helps, and
Yeah,
then the
but
running game gets going, and then he's a part of the running game. These are a lot of things where you don't. Jalen Hurts was, in my mind, I don't know how many people were all like, "Oh, Jalen Hurts is a bust." Coming out of the draft, I'll talk crap about Jalen Hurts because I'm a Giants fan. However, you know he can play, right? You know he was going to come into the league and be decent enough. He can do things that not a lot of people can do. So he's going to be decent. Getting him help, that's the biggest thing for his development, and they got him that. Give props to the front office. That's who you got to give a lot of props to for his development. He just needed the guys to help him shine, and I do think Jalen Hurts had a hell of a season. I think he's great, but the talks are going to start happening where you're going to start putting him in some top fives, and I don't know about that right now.
I mean, he's in an NFC Championship game. He's one game
So
away
is
from a Super
Brock
Bowl.
Purdy.
I mean, he was an MVP candidate. He probably won't win it due to the fact he missed 2 games. But I'm so sick of hearing about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has not played anybody throughout the end of the season. He didn't play any great defenses really other than Dallas this past week. Didn't throw a touchdown. He just really managed the game, and Dallas kind of lost that game because of Dak Prescott's ineptitude and throwing interceptions. I want to see Brock Purdy. I want to see him come into Philly, have a little bit of an awakening in that stadium. And I know you don't believe in home field advantage at the link. I certainly do, and you
No,
certainly saw it in
don't
Major League
play this.
Baseball in Philadelphia. It's a factor.
This.
The fans are
No,
going to
hold
be a
on,
factor, and
hold
you
on.
know it's going to happen. So I want to see
Play
Brock
this.
Purdy go under some adversity. That's what I need to see out of Brock Purdy. This is the first time he's going to face adversity in Philadelphia in the biggest game of his life, in his 8th career game. I don't think he goes in there and beats Philadelphia. It's just not going to happen.
I think you just want me to be hated in Philadelphia. You do. I don't think that the link specifically doesn't give teams home field advantage. If anything, that's one of the stadiums it would. However, like you could say the same thing about Green Bay. You could say the same thing about. You could probably say the same thing about Levi Stadium now.
He's also playing the second-ranked defense. I think that's going
Um,
to be a factor.
I'm not there yet. I'm just going back. I'm just talking about the point that you want me to be hated in Philadelphia
Oh, yeah, I know.
because I'm saying, oh, Eagles fans, this. Blah, 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 blah. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying home field advantage is not that huge of an
I
advantage.
think it is.
It really isn't because road teams lose all the time. I think the most important thing from getting the 1 seed is the bye because you can game plan for a whole nother week, get yourself right, get your mind right, get all that stuff ready. And as long as you don't go to Cabo or I don't know, maybe on a boat trip somewhere and everybody's
That
shirtless wearing
the
Uggs,
Giants will
as
never
long
live
as you
that down.
don't do that, as long as you don't do that, you'll go pretty far. But some teams do that. Going back on Brock Purdy a little bit, though, I don't think that team was ever built to have a quarterback lead
No,
them.
I mean Jimmy Garoppolo brought them to a Super Bowl. He's more of a
Exactly.
game manager. They have a
That's
great
fine.
rod. It's going to be a close game. I do believe that it's going to be a close game.
Here's would be the question: if you take the quarterback out of the equation, who has the better roster on paper? And I think that's
I
very tough
think
to say.
it's a
I
toss
think
up.
it's very tough to say the Eagles. I do,
I
but
don't think. I
they have
don't
a
think it
much better
is.
quarterback. They have a much
They
better
do.
quarterback. First of all, you go at running back itself, Christian McCaffrey versus Miles Sanders.
Yeah, I'll give them
It's
that.
it's easily Christian McCaffrey. Then you go to the wide receivers, and AJ Brown
Yes,
and Devontae Smith are having great years. But so is Brandon Ayuk, right?
that's what I'm saying. It's
Samuel.
it's a toss up between the
So
rosters,
that
but
that is a true fit. That is a true
the
50-50.
slight
And then
edge
you go
has
to
to
the
go. It has to go to the Eagles just because of the quarterback. That's what I would go with. But I mean they're
yeah,
they're almost identical. They're almost identical. Both defenses are very good, and the
similarly
offensive
built.
lines are pretty decent. They both have very good weapons, but you have to give the slight edge, I think, to the quarterback, to the Eagles, and that's the most important piece. And going against a rookie quarterback and Purdy coming into Philadelphia, facing the adversity kind of for the first time, I like the Eagles' chances.
I think we're starting to learn that quarterback isn't as big. Like obviously, it's like one of the biggest positions in sports, right? But
Yeah, I think it is the biggest.
it's not
I think it's the
as
biggest.
big as that's why I don't think it's as big as people think because there's a lot of good quarterbacks on a lot of bad teams and they're still bad. Why are they bad? Because the rest of the team's not good. While on the other hand, there's a lot of quarterbacks on good teams that aren't necessarily top 5 guys, right? Daniel Jones, he was on the Giants and the Giants were a bad team. How in the hell did that team make the playoffs? Nobody knows. Then you go with Dak. Is Dak this great quarterback? We don't even know anymore because he threw a million picks this year. We don't know if he's good, but the team's really good. They have a lot of talent. The defense is great. This, that, and the other thing. San Francisco, the quarterback's all right. He seems to be competent, but guess what? The rest of the team is built for a Super Bowl. We could keep going, and the AFC stacked with quarterbacks, right?
It is.
But like even go back and look at the Lions who went on this absolutely fantastic run to almost sneak into the playoffs. Are we going to sit here and say Jared Goff is a top 10 quarterback in football? Absolutely not. Then with the Seahawks making the playoffs with Geno Smith, and I go and say everything you want about Geno Smith. I still don't think he's that good of a quarterback. I think the scheme fit him and the team around him was very good. There's a lot of things that worked in their favor that as a quarterback you don't necessarily need to pay a guy $50 million, right? I don't feel like you need to do that in the NFL as much as we think because there's so much talent around the league right now. Um, so yeah, but then leading to a Super Bowl again, I don't think you need an elite quarterback to get you to a Super Bowl. I think it helps. Obviously, if you're going to go into the Super Bowl, like let's just say the Eagles win Sunday.
Sunday at 3, and then 6:30 is the second game. AFC.
So Sunday, let's just say they win on Sunday and they blow them out by 50. Are we going to sit here and say because Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow's on the other side, the Eagles are going to lose? No. And I think you would be blasphemous to say Jalen Hurts is better or as good as those two. And he's great. He's great. Don't get me wrong. But the jump in the NFL from Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, it's a big jump.
See, if Jalen Hurts reaches a Super Bowl, he's entered that conversation. I think
Wow.
he's pretty much there anyway. I mean, he's arguably the MVP this year. He put up numbers. He did things on the ground that haven't really been replicated by an Eagles quarterback before. I mean, he threw the ball extremely well. What he did from last year to this year, the jump he's made in such a short amount of time at 24 years old. You have to give him credit. You have to give Jalen Hurts credit. And I think where he's at, he's entered that conversation of top 10 quarterback. I mean, I don't think there's any question.
I also think top 10 quarterback is hilarious, right? Because I saw Greg Jennings today say Daniel Jones is a top 10 quarterback. I think that's a tough statement.
That's the national media just saying things to make them watch their shows. That's what that is.
Hold on, Mr.
I can tell you that right now.
No, he accidentally brings up a great point, and that point is there are so many good quarterbacks in football that there's the elite, the four I named.
Is there though? Are there? Are there though?
4 elite quarterbacks. Those are the guys that you love to watch. Those are the guys.
See, there's tiers. You have to go tiers with these quarterbacks.
When we say top 10, there are so many guys that you could say are top 10, and I believe.
I don't know if there is. I think the talent level of quarterback has actually dropped off towards the bottom half of the league. I really do.
I think the worst quarterbacks are terrible, right? The Zach Wilsons of the world.
He won't even be a backup next year. He might be out of the league. So
Zach Wilsons of the world. The entire Jets roster. I think those guys are obviously really bad. Like the mid-tier guys,
right?
Number 18 could be just as good as number 10. And let me give you an example here. All
right, quick. One more. We got a couple more minutes. Couple more minutes. I'll get this in.
We could say Dak Prescott is the 10th best quarterback in football. But if I said Jared Goff, top 10 quarterback, and then I use Dak Prescott as the one to get in, that's fine. He jumps Dak. I think that works. There's the obvious 10, the 4 I named: Hurts, Herbert, I'm
Mahomes,
blanking.
Burrow,
said
Allen.
Those 4.
Right.
And then
we have an idea. Right.
You get to like 8, and then 8, 9, 10. Who is it? And you could throw in whoever the hell you want. Throw in Daniel Jones, sure. Throw in Daniel Jones.
This whole segment was so you could sneak Daniel Jones into the top 10. I think that was kind of your goal, to sneak Daniel Jones in the top 10 because he got in the divisional round. I'll give him.
If we want me to rank Daniel Jones, I would put him on the outside of the top 10. I would put him like 13, 14.
Okay.
And some people would tell me that's a little high. After the season he had, people say because he only had 15 touchdowns in 16 games, that's a knock on him. Isaiah Hodgins was the Giants' best receiver this year. I think that's easy to say. Do you know where he was in September?
I have no idea.
Bills practice squad. He wasn't on an active roster.
I think I do remember
that. So
a
couple of years ago, Eagles fans were saying this, that, and the other thing. Shout out Kayla Santiago, because this was her favorite saying. Was it last year? Maybe? Where we were saying Jalen Hurts is throwing to actual practice squad receivers. No, he wasn't. They're still on NFL rosters. Daniel Jones.
After Devontae Smith, last year he had Jalen Reagor and wasn't great.
He's still on an NFL roster. Isaiah Hodgins wasn't on an NFL roster. I don't know if Richie James was on an NFL roster. Starting wide receivers. I don't know how Darius Slayton's still on an NFL roster, and I love him to death.
Hey, you got your boy $70 million Galladay. He's been a great addition.
He's our 5th string receiver. The only reason he's still on an NFL roster,
Kenny Galladay. Here, Gary, I got to get going in just a sec. But listen, it was a tough game for your Giants over the weekend. What is your outlook heading into the Giants really quick, and then your picks for this weekend if you have any?
Okay, so for the Giants, you got to do a lot to fix the team. There's obviously a lot of holes. There's a lot of things you need to fix. You need the number 1 receiver. I think there's places to go. I think there's options. It depends how much money you want to spend, what you're willing to give up, and it's up in the air. You also have to pay Daniel Jones. You have to pay Saquon Barkley, right? As for this weekend, I think the NFC is kind of wrapped up. I hate to say it. I love this Brock Purdy madness. But the same thing, like I said about the Eagles, the train can only go so far. You can only take that type of momentum and that type of stuff so far, and it really depends about the guys around him. I think San Francisco has a hell of a group behind him, but it's the first time he's going to be shaken up a bit. So let's see how he reacts. I think it could be interesting, but I think the Eagles are probably the most talented roster in football right now. On the AFC side, it's a lot of fun.
Oh,
It's
it's
a
gonna
lot
be
of
fun.
fun.
I agree.
I personally thought whoever's going to win Bengals Bills was going to win the Super Bowl. I still think that. And I think with that kind of gives them my pick. I think the Bengals go on the road, take down Mahomes, and Joe Burrow
Again,
goes to back-to-back Super Bowls. And remember, Joe Burrow, there's a reason why there's this hype now saying Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback. Some people, if he beats Mahomes, some people are going to say he's the best quarterback in
take him
football.
over him. Yeah,
A
I've
lot
seen
of
a
people
lot of that. I've
a
seen a
lot
lot
of
of that.
people have said this. This take has started to take over and want to know why Joe Burrow is so loved by all. Women love him. Men want to be him. Want to know why?
Tell me why,
He
Gary. Tell me why. Let's hear it.
because the word you said earlier, adversity. Nobody,
Yeah,
nobody has battled more adversity than Joe Burrow. And guess
yeah.
what? And constantly, year after year, he's got a new hurdle, a new thing that keeps him interesting. At
See,
LSU, at Ohio State, he transferred, then went to starter at
yep.
LSU. Everyone counted him out. He goes and beats Central Florida, and then what he does the next year, he goes and beats Clemson for the national title. Then tears his ACL first year in the NFL, goes to the Super Bowl the next year, loses the Super Bowl, and now what's next? Wins it.
All right. So you got the battle of adversity pretty much. You got Jalen Hurts versus Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl. Bengals, Eagles. I like the pick.
I don't know
I
where
think.
we're getting at Jalen Hurts adversity.
Oh, come on. He was benched in the game in the national championship in college. He was a second round pick.
We're
I
past
have to give
that.
him a little.
He was
Oh, we're not
barely a
past.
second
He
round
was
pick.
coming into the season. He wasn't even known if he was going to be the starter going forward for the Eagles. So
No,
it's like
no,
he's faced
that
adversity.
did
Yes, he
not
has.
happen. That
Not
did
maybe not
not
as much as
happen.
Burrow, but he has. He definitely has. He transferred to
No,
Oklahoma.
hold
He
on.
has.
He was the starter at Oklahoma, and then
He had to
was putting a
transfer out of
bid.
Alabama because Tua took his job.
Did he go to the college football playoffs with Oklahoma? What type of adversity did he face? He
Oh,
ran away
he
from
literally lost his job in Alabama.
adversity. He didn't fight it. He ran
He
away
stayed there. He stayed there, sat behind Tua, and then transferred.
he ran away from
He didn't
adversity at
run. Oh,
Alabama,
see that
went to
this is what I
Oklahoma,
get for having
and
a Giant fan on.
don't play it like that. I'm telling the truth. And then he said, "Oh,
He
I'm
faced a
smoking
lot
that
of.
Bama pack," and now he's a fan. Alabama's trying to claim him. No, let's stop this. Jalen Hurts battles adversity
He
talk because he
has. He
really didn't.
100%
He
has.
was given. He's given so much, and he's great. He's a very talented player, but he's got so much. He's been given so much
Okay.
constantly. Let's see him do something with a not 22 all pro roster and see
He's
what
gonna
he
need
can
to
do.
win he might have to win a couple Super Bowls for him to win you over. But listen, Gary,
He'll win me over, but give me two. Give me
give
two.
you two. Oh my God. Give
Like,
you two Super Bowls. Well, Gary, listen, it's been great having you on. Listen, I'm sorry about your Giants last week. The Eagles beat down 38-7 at the link. Could be on their way to the Super Bowl after this week. Appreciate you hopping on the stream with me, man.
appreciate it. I'm obliged to. I'm not obliged, but if you're ever interested in talking a little Big Five basketball, I'm sure your Planet Philly guys will love to.
Oh, we'll
Uh,
definitely have
let
you on again.
let me know because I'm your guy.
Oh, for sure. Gary Early, there he is. Oh man, it's always fun having Gary on. He can go. He can talk about his Giants. He always gives great insight. But it's going to take a lot for Jalen Hurts to win Gary over. It really is. He doesn't think he faced any adversity. I clearly do. I think most people out there think he's faced a little bit too. But he's got the Bengals and the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and I think that is a real possibility. I think it's very real that you could see the Philadelphia Eagles against the Bengals. I mean, Bengals, they went on the road and beat Kansas City last year. So listen, it's going to be a lot of fun this week. I'm very excited. The Eagles, here before we go, I want to get into a couple of things with the Eagles. I don't know if they get Avonte Maddox back. I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make. I mean, they have CJ Gardner-Johnson to still play the slot for them if they want him to. I really believe this team can win. And I'm just not sold. Like some of the national media is sold on Brock Purdy coming in here and winning. I mean, it's basically a pick 'em if you look at the line. These are actually the favorites in some books, most books, that they're going to win the Super Bowl. They're favorites to win. And I think they have the team to do it. Everything's kind of aligning for this team, it feels like this year. And, they beat the Giants. They have San Francisco, a young rookie quarterback coming in to play them at the link. I don't see it. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the defense of San Francisco is what you really need to worry about. That's what you have to worry about. The Eagles lose this game if they turn the ball over. If they get too cute and turn the ball over. That is how the Eagles will lose this game on Sunday. Because if they can take care of the ball, get the ball to all their receivers like Goddard, spread it around to Brown, Smith, get Miles Sanders involved, establish the run game a little bit against a tough run defense in San Francisco, I think they win. They just have to take care of the ball. They can't go back to what happened in the Commanders game. That can't happen when you have these turnovers, these silly mistakes. That's how the Eagles get beat. If the Eagles don't turn the ball over, they're going to win this game. That is literally it. I think that's how simple it is for Philadelphia to win against San Francisco. Because, listen, San Francisco, they have a great team. I think the Eagles defense compares to San Francisco's. I think both rosters, and you heard Gary and I talk about it, both rosters are, I think, very similar in talent. Defensively, both teams pretty damn good on the defensive side of things. I mean, they're 1 and 2 for a reason, ranked in the National Football League. So I think it's going to be very close. I think the quarterback's the difference. Brock Purdy, he's had a great run. He's had an unbelievable run as San Francisco's third-string quarterback. Trey Lance goes down early on in the season. Jimmy Garoppolo goes down. They bring in this third-string, Mr. Irrelevant. What adversity has he really, really faced against some of these teams? He's played Tampa Bay. He's played Seattle. Played the Commanders. He hasn't really faced a real defense until Dallas. And Dallas held them to 19 points. 19 points is all that San Francisco scored last week. I'm not sold on Purdy doing anything crazy against this Eagles defense. He's going up against a team that led the league in sacks, rivaled the 85 Bears. I think they're going to get to him. I think they're going to get to Purdy. I think the pressure of playing in Philadelphia at the link in that hostile environment that everyone loves to say, I think it's going to get to Purdy, and I think it might force him into a couple of mistakes for the first time in his young career. I think he's got a bright future. I don't think he comes in and beats this Eagles team. I really don't. I'm not going to give my pick yet. I think you know where I'm kind of leaning with my pick, but I think the Eagles, if they keep it a clean game, don't turn the ball over, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be close, but I think if they win the turnover battle, they keep it a clean game on the offensive side, no fumbles, no interceptions from Hurts, no dumb decisions in the red zone like we saw in Week 18 against the Giants from Jalen. I think they're all right. I think they're going to be okay, and I think the momentum of having that week off, coming in, beating down on the Giants is going to help them exceptionally more than people think, and I think they're going to – I really do. I think they have a real shot at winning again because this roster is loaded. They're healthy. San Francisco's gotten healthy. They started the season off extremely injured, especially on that defensive front. So I think it's going to be a fantastic matchup. This might be an all-timer. I think this game might be an all-timer with how good it is, how competitive it is, with both these teams very evenly matched. The difference is the quarterback. And Jalen Hurts, I think if he keeps – everything clean, doesn't turn the ball over, you might see him in the Super Bowl this year. So I'm excited. Guys, it was fun. We went a little longer today. We had our guest Gary early on. A special thanks to Gary. Great job by him. Always good stuff. Apologies to his Giants. Actually, not really. I could care less. Love seeing the Giants fail. Love seeing Dallas fail. It's always a great time to see those teams just kind of flounder towards the end of the season. So listen, it's going to be a fun week here on Planet Philly. Jason's got you tomorrow at 1 o'clock around lunchtime. So if you're on your lunch break, tune in. We're on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Tune in to Planet Philly. Jason has you there. He'll get you covered. He'll get you set for the Eagles and the 49ers. We'll take a look at the Sixers probably as well. And then we'll probably get into that Kansas City and Cincinnati game. So a lot going on this week. I will see you again on Thursday night, same time, 6:30. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk more Eagles. I'll give you my picks then as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. Special thanks to Gary Erdely, and we will see you next time right here on Planet Philly.